Welcome into the latest edition of Extra Time. Thank you so much for all your questions. What a lineup we have today. Ali and Stevie here in the studio. Stevie, what do you want to say?
Well, can you ask Sid and Derek if they think it's a red card?
Oh, don't start, Stevie. Look, just turn the page.
Just a yes or no
Just turn the page.
A yes or no will do.
Nobody thinks it's a red card.
Well, Derek, do you think that's a red card?
I agree with you, Stevie, on pretty much everything, so there you go.
But not on that occasion.
What?
Yeah, not on that occasion. Sid, where are you?
The silence tells the story, fair enough.
Where am I? I'm in Girona for tomorrow's game, Girona against Arsenal, and Mikel Arteta was talking obviously about that decision being overturned. And he says he's very, very pleased.
Well, I'm sure he is very pleased indeed. Stuff you, Stevie. Take that. Derek, me and you are never on together. I've got to ask you some FIFA questions overall, because I talked to Robbo about it a lot. How long does it take you in total to record everything for the computer game?
I take it, first of all, you mean EAFC. EAFC
oh, yes, I'm
25.
Sorry. Yes,
That's okay.
Very much.
That's okay, Dan. We do about 20 days of recording every year, and so we're talking about all-day sessions. So, yeah, there's a lot of content goes into it. I'm actually recording tomorrow, so the timing
What's
is good.
What's the hardest thing for you as a commentator to do that maybe we don't see?
I think the hardest thing is probably coming up with about 50 different ways of trying to say one thing. So imagine if you're tasked with, on the fly, coming up with 50 different ways of describing a fierce shot from outside the penalty area. You know, try that at home. You can maybe do it 3 or 4 or 5 times, but when you get to the 49th try, you've got to rack the brains a bit for that one.
And how do you deal with your... I'm very sorry. I like talking to Derek about this. How do you cope with your voice? Because, like, what's it, 4 or 5 hour sessions, and you're screaming and getting excited? Like, you've got to show some discipline or something.
Yeah, you do. You have to protect it, and we're quite careful about not doing too many high-intensity things at the same time. But there's a product, I won't name it, but there's a product that's available in the UK only. And people of a certain vintage, Stevie will know who I'm talking about here. Ali, maybe not so much. Dan, you're probably in the middle. Cliff Richard, does that name mean anything to you? Cliff Richard, a legendary singer. Stevie knows who Cliff Richard was. He used to use this product. He used to use this product to protect his singing voice, and I buy it whenever I'm back in the UK, and that's pretty handy to have as well.
What's the product, Derek? Don't worry, no one's getting into trouble. I'm intrigued. Is it like a fisherman friend or something?
It's not that one. No, I don't know if I should mention it, because then I'm giving free publicity to somebody who probably shouldn't.
Hey, give it. Okay, we'll give it. I mention Mercedes every day for no reason.
Okay, it's called Vocal Zone. There you go, Vocal Zone.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Never heard of it.
Well, that's because they're not getting any publicity. That's the problem. Yeah, we're going full circle.
And the people that could provide publicity, like Derek, refuse to do.
No, exactly. Right, Steve, were you critical of the Champions League new format?
No, because I had no idea how it was going to work.
Okay, if
it's hard to be critical when you have no idea.
Well, that's general life.
Well, yeah, I suppose
wandering through
every day.
I'm going to say to you, because I imagine you might have been a bit critical. Do you regret being critical of the new Champions League format before it even played, considering that we have seen exciting Tier 1 matchups every round, when previously we'd have to wait until the round of 16 or quarterfinals to see them?
No, quite frankly. We're going to end up with the same teams anyway.
Celtic in the knockout stages? That hasn't happened before,
there's always one. All right, there's always one. Oh. And then, again, this new format had nothing to do with benefiting the game or making it more exciting. Oh. It was to do with getting more games and more dough. Oh. That's the bottom line.
Well, 6 games, obviously. It used to be 8 games now. Sid, do you enjoy the new format?
I'm a little bit undecided. I must admit I was critical of it because it just seemed to me to be complex and chaotic, and it didn't make a lot of sense, and I felt like it would feel fragmented because you didn't have that sense of being within a group where the teams played each other a couple of times. I also think I'm slightly resistant to this idea that look how good it was when before it was rubbish. I think we saw good games in every match day last time as well with the previous format, and I think we did have groups, not all of them, that got to the last game and things were changed at the very last minute of the last round of games in the previous format as well. And I think Stevie's probably fundamentally right. At the end of it, and I think the final judgment has to happen after tomorrow night's games, we probably will have the same teams basically go through. And I think at the moment, that feeling that with jeopardy that we have when we look at that league table may not be real jeopardy. fundamentally those teams are still going to get through. The other thing is, I mean, this isn't really a criticism, but it does make me smile a little bit. The kind of the inherent contradiction at the heart of this new format. And as Stevie says, it's not really about the football, it's about getting people the money that they want and getting more games. The real key here was, hey, let's have a new format and we can guarantee that everyone gets 2 extra games. Isn't that brilliant? And so what's the reward for playing really well? Don't worry, you can have 2 games fewer than the rest.
Oh, God, Sid. Always looking beyond.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yes.
How did they figure out who played who? I still don't know how that works.
Okay, well, don't worry. Derek,
Well, see, nobody can. Everybody goes,
the computer
but nobody
did it.
can answer
The
it.
computer did it at the start, didn't it? The computer did the draw.
It's Shaka's algorithm. Shaka's algorithm.
Same as Shaka. What you put in is what you get out.
Right.
So who decided to put in what to get out what they did?
It depended on where the teams were seeded.
Is that it?
Yes. It's not complicated.
Right, okay. Seeded in what?
The better teams got and the better draws.
So how did Liverpool end up with Real Madrid then?
Because you've got to play another big boy. That's the whole point of it, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Don't mimic me now that I've given you an explanation that you're not happy with.
There's something fundamentally wrong. Say, for example, you just mentioned Real Madrid. Real Madrid are 4-3 right now.
Yes.
In Champions League. And they'll play tomorrow. They'll go through.
Yes.
And it's that sense of lack of jeopardy that Sid was just talking about. In the previous version of Champions League, Real Madrid loses 3 matches in the group stage. They're not going through.
But then would they have lost 3 matches in the group stage?
Oh, well, exactly. Because there is more jeopardy in each one of those games.
Yeah. Derek, your thoughts on the new format?
I try to be open-minded about it. I don't think it's perfect. I don't like, for example, the fact that Stuttgart play PSG on the final day, and a 1-1 draw is about 98% certain to get both teams through. So I think that's a huge flaw in the setup. I do like the fact that there's no longer a parachute into the other competitions, because I think it makes those other competitions a bit more pure. There's a bit more variety. It's not the sort of the same old in terms of the feel of it. So for me, it's a mixed bag. I don't think it's been amazing, but I wouldn't dismiss it either. Somewhere in the middle.
A bit like this show. Could a one-match knockout similar to the one in the FA Cup, Copa del Rey, etc., work in the Champions League, Ali? Forget the 2 legs. It might help loosen the football calendar and give players a breather.
Well, then why do you play 8 matches in the first round?
Champions League 2 legs is actually some good football.
Yes,
that we like.
we actually get to the stage in which we want to watch Champions League.
It's like driving a Mercedes down the street. It's beautiful. Exactly what you want. That's what a wonderful feel.
Okay.
Sid, Mbappe's meteoric form is scary looking. This is surely a fact to consider regarding Real Madrid winning the Champions League.
Before I answer this question, can I just name lots of products that I quite like the look of, and in the hope that maybe they'll send some to me for free on the
Perfect. Go for it. No, wait. Disney HR disapprove of that, Sid, apparently. Yes. So don't do that.
So I won't be naming that brand of Earl Grey tea bags then. That's a real tragedy.
Oh my God. Blooming Sid, you got everything in the world. You want tea bags. Sort it out, man.
Absolutely I do. Sorry, what was the question? No, it was about Mbappé, wasn't it?
Something about Mbappé winning the Champions League.
I mean, if he wins the Champions League, then he should win the Champions League at some point in his Real Madrid career. He's gone to a team that was winning it without him. He, in theory, makes that team stronger, albeit the early part of the season has suggested it's not. So, look, I actually think it would be a surprise if Mbappé doesn't retire at Real Madrid with at least a couple of Champions League titles.
Oh, well, there you go. Derek, it feels like outside of Germany, Bayern getting embarrassed 3-0 by Feyenoord was relatively under the radar. How's it been received over there?
Not very well, because it does put in jeopardy Bayern's presence in the automatic part of the Champions League in this next phase. So I think where Bayern, the players and the coach, Vincent Kompany, I think where they've won a bit of credit is the fact that they haven't had too many mishaps this season. For the most part, it has been a success, but it was not pretty. And I think they've rightly been criticised for it. But there still is the chance for them to make amends. But again, we don't really know, and they're at the mercy of this format, and they could win their last game, but not make it into the top 8. So it's very complicated. But no, the criticism, I think, has been loud enough.
Ali, if you had one piece of advice for Ansu Fati, what would it be?
Well, the first question I would ask him before I give him advice, are you fit? Are you healthy? And if you're not, what do we need to do in order to make that happen? And once we get you fit, healthy, and ready to go, I would say to Ansu Fati, forget all the noise. Forget all the expectations. Forget all the things that you thought you were going to be, and they thought you were going to be, and we thought you were going to be. Focus on today. Today. Have a good practice today. A good training session. And then tomorrow you show up and have yet another good training session. And build until your natural talent takes over. And when your natural talent takes over, all those things that we expected of you are going to show up on the field.
Sid?
Yeah, I follow what Ali's saying, and I would take it to something we were talking about earlier on, which is that idea of enjoyment. So I agree with Ali completely. Forget all the things you were going to be. Forget all the things you thought you were, or that people said you were, and just enjoy it. I think if you can find a way to enjoy it again, find a way to have that sense of fun in it, and then play from there. But I think he's in a difficult position, and you know, coaches who've worked with him, you know, even as long as a couple of years ago, were saying there isn't really a way back from this because there's an emotional process as well as a physical one. But I agree with Ali. The first thing is get him fit and be sure he's fit, and then let's forget everything else and just play.
Final question. Oh, it's an easy answer for Sid. Derek, what is your top place you've commentated, reported at so far this season?
Top place I've commentated at this season. Try to give you my favourite one. You know what? My favourite one this season, opening game of the Bundesliga season in Mönchengladbach, which is super stadium, always sold out, and it was very lively, that first game of the season, Gladbach against Leverkusen. But that's the great thing. When you ask these questions, Dan, it changes from week to week, from month to month. And if you ask me next month, I'll probably give you a different location. But I'm going to give it to Gladbach, that opening night in the Bundesliga, which was exciting. Went to the 101st minute before it was decided.
Sid, obvious answer for you, of course.
Well, I don't know what you think the obvious answer is. If we're talking about somewhere I've been this year for work rather than just for enjoyment, if it's just enjoyment, obviously it's the Carlos Tartiere for the Asturian derby, Real Oviedo against Sporting. I think the game I've most enjoyed covering for ESPN
that's the wrong answer.
Is Athletic Club against Real Madrid.
No, it's Leganés, Real Madrid, with me.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, but you know what? I think you know, if I'm going to be with you, I'd rather be sitting across the table from you, gazing into your eyes, maybe a candle, a glass of wine.
Some tea bags.
I don't need to be at Leganés, you know, within a few meters of a man in a giant cucumber costume to enjoy my evening with you.
Ah, yes, Super Pepino. That's why I got grumpy. We were sat behind the goal. I was like, can't see anything here. Why don't they sit us here? Anyway.
You did get grumpy.
Let's talk one last thing. Superstar call. If you were growing up in the 80s, you would try to get ripped off by footballers who would get you to call a premium number and would apparently talk to you. Every day, your nation's top stars will tell you exclusively about life at the club, their ups and downs during the season. So you could call these special numbers, which were a lot of money, and you could speak to Stevie Nicol. Now, Stevie, you have no recollection of this whatsoever.
So the fact I have no recollection would tell me that
nobody ever called.
So that was my education.
Eleanor, has the phone rung yet? No.
I even asked Eleanor. Because I'm going to assume that you initially would have been paid something just to be on that advert, right?
Yes, yeah. And then
the fact that I don't remember, it has to be.
I imagine you would record a message every day. It's not like you would interact with people.
No.
You just record a message, say it very slowly. Hello and welcome to my house. Did you ever call it Sid? You are a geek. Were you a geek back then as well?
I tell you what, I don't remember this particular one. That is an incredible rogues gallery, by the way. Look at the players on that list. It's just phenomenal. But I mean, Dean Saunders is on there. I mean, honestly, Mark Bennis. I mean, quite amazing. I like you. I assumed that you probably recorded a load of stuff and it was put out rather than. Although I do like the picture of Stevie sitting by his phone thinking, why isn't this thing rung all afternoon? I've been sitting here all afternoon and it just won't ring. And then I quite like the idea of ringing it and Stevie eventually picking up and going, hello? Shepherd's pie is the answer.
It's the answer to everything. Yes. That's the answer. Yeah. Derek, did you ever work for Club Call or make any calls like that? It was quite big in the 80s.
Yeah, I did work for Club Call, actually.
Did you?
If you talk to, I did a few different clubs. So to explain to people what Club Call was, basically most of the big clubs had this arrangement with Club Call. So you paid this premium number and you had people like me and other younger broadcasters as we were then, basically giving you the news of the day, from the beating heart of the whatever training grounds, you name your club. And of course, this was before internet. This was when local newspapers or radio stations might carry the news of the day. And you actually felt as though you were breaking news. It felt important at the time. I didn't call it myself, but I did take part in it. I did interview Stevie, though, around that time when he was with Scotland. And sadly...
You used the phone? What number did you use?
Hello? No, in person. It was just the two of us. Sadly, Stevie didn't get any royalties for that, and I didn't get any extra pay for it. But it was a very memorable interview.
Where did you phone the hotel? Must have been the hotel, right?
No, we actually sat together.
No cell phones.
You sat together, Stevie.
We sat together. Interview.
It was a very memorable interview, apparently.
At Glen Eagles Hotel. At Glen Eagles Hotel in Scotland. I can tell that you remember it.
Stevie.
Oh, well, we used to go there all the time.
And you remember talking to Derek?
I never said that.
I remember Derek very well. Very well.
I remember the hotel. It was great. Room service was magic.
Did America have anything like this? Like this sort of, to get the insight on the Dolphins and Dan Marino and what's going on? Did you ever
I've never heard of something like that. Never heard of something like that.
But just because he grew up in America.
Well, I did not, actually.
Well, you were here when you were 15, when you had phones.
Yes. We had phones in Venezuela too. Dan.
Yeah. Did you have Club Call in Venezuela?
No, we didn't.
There you go, Dan. Keep going. Keep going, Dan.
We'll edit that bit out. Mercedes won't mind. ESPN FC is back on your screens tomorrow. Be sure to join us. 18 matches at the same time, ladies and gentlemen.